Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's Javier. I'm excited to be with you here tonight to share with you a important update as it relates to a couple of different matters that are going to be directly having to do with your success. So just bear with me while we wait another 30 seconds to let more people in. They're coming in as we speak, and I don't want to have to restart, and I don't want them to go ahead and miss out either. So we're going to do a couple of things today. I'm going to share with you, excuse me, some updates, and then we're going to get right into the training. And, we're starting to separate the grown-ups from the ones that are not so serious about success, because I'm going to also let you know what we're doing to kind of thin the herd, if you would, which is a very important, and I do mean very important part of business, at least the way I do business. I assume everybody's in until they prove themselves otherwise. And that's life. That's just the way it is. I've gotten a couple of people who just for whatever reason can't get things going. And sometimes I'm going to be giving a presentation next week in Vegas for the national convention. So they want me to do a 30-minute spill on, what I've been doing for the last 20 years to get our team, not myself, but our team. And one thing I stress to everybody all the time is timing. Timing is everything. I think that everybody has a birthright for, to be successful. But at the end of the day, I will tell you right now that it does boil down to nothing more and nothing less than doing what needs to be done when it has to be done, regardless of what we have going on in life. So we're going to start to see some separation here real soon. And I'm going to start with first things first as it relates to a couple of things. So let me just go ahead and fire this up and get this thing going. Today, we're going to talk about living benefits, but it's really going to be interactive type of presentation. So I'm going to ask everybody to please do their part and play along and answer the questions and all that other good stuff as we move forward. Now, this is so critical because it's amazing how many times you have licensed agents. They're appointed with the carriers. They're talking the talk about the living benefits, but they don't know crap about the living benefits. And that's how we end up with a bad reputation overall sometimes. And so I pride myself on my teammates are not like that. If you're going to be working with us, because if you don't know your stuff, you're not working with us. I'll tell you that right now. And so it's important to make sure that you know what you're talking about. What I want to show to you is what I'm calling my team. Just so you guys know, in this company, we differentiated the teams by different names. And my team for 20 years, we just call ourselves Team Crusaders within FFS. You've got Team Resilience over there and the Titans over there. Just a way of identifying the teams, I should say. And I'm very excited to say that this is the group that we started with, but it's thinning out pretty quickly, to be honest with you. And I don't feel bad about that because I want to actually accelerate and water down everything more, because we're about to get to the part that matters, which is, of course, making money, producing. And, everybody talks the talk, not that many people, or a lot of times the people don't do their part. So you guys are the first to see this ever. This is the makeup, if you would, of the actual project that I've been working on for 90 days. And it's not just simply a new team, it's a new hierarchy as far as I'm concerned, because my goal is if you do your part, you're going to see that you're not going to be able to handle all the opportunity that's going to be before you. So therefore, you're going to want to recruit somebody to help you out and then override them for your time's sake as well. And that's the birth of what I call a hierarchy. So I just want to show you this. Also, if you are here and you don't have a picture, give me a picture over, because the pictures are going to be tied in directly to the new IDs that are going out. And I'll cover that here right now. And so the new badges are going to be going out as we get people to cross the finish line of their auditions, becoming what we call commission qualified. And that simply means that you're appointed with at least one of our carriers. And I recommend two, National Life Group and Anaco, because Anaco is the only company out there whose living benefits really go ahead and come close. And that's because the person that designed the living benefits for National Life Group, they got recruited away to Anaco and enhance what he did over at National Life Group and add a little bit more. And so again, people get all bent out of shape about my company's living benefits are better than yours. Listen, that's fine, but I'll show you here at the end how that's usually not the case. And there's nothing better out there for the client, National Life Group and Anaco, and I'll show you what I mean. Also, as of right now, there's only 6 spots left for the NLG 43B and IUL Academy. Now, keep in mind that just like this Wednesday webinar is technically intended for the brand new people that are direct to me, this event on August 26th was put together by myself and David Gilmore, the vice president of key accounts for National Life Group, just for you guys. It's just that for 20 people, for them to fly out for 20 people, they'll do it because they know that it's going to be for the most committed ones, if you would. But I also understand that out of the 20, probably 9 are going to be gone by August 26th. And so therefore, I opened it up to the rest of my team. And as of today, literally as of today, there's only 6 seats that are available. So go back and dig through your emails and text messages and register, because once it sells out, it's intended to be a very intimate, and I do mean intimate event, where we're talking about there's the 40 of us, 2 of them, National Life Group, and that's it. The probably the room that we're going to be using, it's called the Sierra. I've been using that room for meetings and trainings for about 24 years, and that one easily holds 120 people. We're doing a classroom style, so there's a table that you can lean on and take notes on, so that cut it down to around 70 people. But we only are opening it up to 40 people. So it's going to be very lonely in there because it's a big, big room. But again, we just want the serious people there, and we're already thinning the herd. So we want to continue to do that as well. If you have any questions about these events, unmute yourself, please, and let me know. Also, I'm asking for everyone's help. And this is for this group of people, the 20, whatever it is, 23 people that are in the running. But we're starting to finally get the color codes that I love. I'm a very, very visual person. I hate to say that I have a team of 23 people when I might not, or I know I don't. So I don't fool myself. I'm not emotional. I don't attach myself emotionally to people. I just don't do that, because I attach myself to results and success and income. And so whether we like it or not, that's just the way life is. Not that many people joined us to not do anything, but there's a lot of people that are doing a very good job of doing nothing. And so as you can see, you'll see just a very simple color-coded way of saying who's on track, who's not, who's almost there, so that I know who I can help out as long as they ask me for the help. And so there's red, green. You want to be green, just so you know. Green means you're good to go, you're ready to go. That means that you are commission qualified. That means that your level has been adjusted accordingly. That means that you've passed audition number 1, audition number 2. And if you do that, you're green. There's some other minor things beyond that, such as the symposium, which again, if you didn't go to that, you're probably not going to be green anyways. We don't want you there. The event of the 26th, you're not going to be there. It'll show. And so you can see, what I'm asking for your help is, if you show up as either yellow or red, you got to let me know that, you know what, again, I have my assistant going through all the notes of the auditions that we just did the other day. 50% of the people passed and 50% failed. And so it's no big deal. I will do as many as I have to get those that failed to pass. You're trying. And that's a lot more than a lot of other people can say. But again, you look at this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green ones. And if there's more, that's what I'm saying. I'm updating it. I'm working on this tomorrow, because on Monday, the emails and the in-person door knocking begins for the actual filling up of the calendar. We've got around 6 openers right now that we're going to be working with. And I'm going to be working with some of you to make sure that if you want to accelerate your success and not have to ask me about, hey, when's my first school? And you say, look, just give me a damn list. I'll make it happen. We're going to equip you with everything you need. Then we do that. But if you're not green, you're going nowhere. You're no good to anybody until you're green. I mean, you're commission qualified, because if you're not commission qualified, that means we cannot go to the home office. If you notice, the level change, because the system starts you at 30%, I make sure that I always, whatever we need to do with the level changes, that it's done so that the day you submit business, you get paid at the level that you deserve to be paid at. I take that very, very seriously. And so therefore, everybody that you see with the Y has had their paperwork submitted. If the system doesn't show you at the level that you should be at, it's because you're not commission qualified. FFS will not change your level, which completely makes sense. What the hell are you going to be worried about your level if you're not appointed with any one of our carriers? And so if you see anything wrong with this chart, it is your job, not my job, to say, you know what, actually, I was there last week and you told me that I had passed number 1 or number 2 or both or whatever the hell it was, and I'll update the chart. But this is who, moving forward, will be starting to get in, be invited, I should say, to some of the advanced stuff that we have going on with principals, teachers, and police officers as well. So as of right now, we just see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. That's it. Out of 23, 6. And that's kind of, if you remember what I told you, kind of in the area of what I'm looking for. And out of those, I think 1 or 2 will fall out before we kick off the whole thing. So any questions about this at all? Anything? I want everybody to be green, but you got to make sure, you have to understand that, I'm human, I make mistakes. And so, like I said, I have an assistant, but I had not fed her the results of the actual auditions we did last week or this week, this Monday. And we did a lot. Now, here's what I want to share with you. The common denominator of those that failed versus those that passed, by far, it was amazing. Exactly the same common denominator from those that passed was the same one from those that failed. And that is that those that passed had at least one practice virtual event, if you would. And so a virtual audition, if you would, a mock one via Zoom. And I caught a lot of things that were wrong. And by the time they went ahead and fixed it, they passed when they got there in person. Every single one that didn't pass it did not have a virtual one. So they just simply said, screw it. I'm going to practice while I'm there. And they didn't pass it. Great people. Everybody did a great job trying, but there are some things that you have to know, you have to do, you have to show. So like I said, this is where you come in, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching the recording of it, or maybe if you watch it at all, you're probably red. And that's okay too.
Javier, this is Troy.
Troy, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, okay. A couple things. One is I had sent a text out to you. I didn't know that we had that option available to do.
Who can tell me? Listen to this. This is what I'm telling this group, and that includes Stephen, who's on this group right here. Everybody should know, because I've said it about 1 billion times. And this is just for you guys. I don't send this out to anybody because I don't have the time. What's the link that anybody at any time can go to see my availability and book something with me? What is it? Anybody know?
Javier or something, right? What was it? It's the
Zoom with Javier.
Zoom with Javier. Zoom with Javier.us.
There. Zoom with Javier.
That's right.
If you have an issue about this, if you have an issue about that, this is only for a limited time, just so you know, because I'm going to change that domain after this campaign is done, because it's just I don't have that kind of time. I am available to you at any time. I had one person yesterday that had a webinar at 8 p.m. I got on the webinar. They never showed up. So I sent a text saying, hey, I waited for you till whatever time, and I can't. Then they come back. I try to book it again, but tomorrow's not available. The next night I go, it's because my wife, she literally did have surgery. I've been up since 4:30 to the hospital, and I just got her home. So I'm playing caregiver today and tomorrow. So I'm sorry, but you had me at 8 p.m. last night. What happened? I sent you the system sent you a text reminder. So Zoom with Javier.us.
Okay. All right.
And that was the common denominator, that everything that I caught over there, we could have caught on Zoom, and boom, knocked it out that much faster because time's running out. Thank you so much, though. I really appreciate that. That's a good point, Troy. And so again, Zoom with Javier.us. Don't pass that out. That's just for you guys, okay?
Right. Okay. So, excuse me. I don't have any problem. I would certainly initiate that. I know that when I did not pass, you said that you would let me know, or you would reach out, whatever. But I'll reach out to you again. No problem.
Okay. Don't reach out to me. Just go to zoomwithjavier.us. If it shows available, it's available.
Yeah.
Take it.
Okay.
And then I get a text. You get a text. I get an email. You get an email. And if I'm busy, like if you try to book it tomorrow's blocked off because I gotta look after my wife. She just came out of surgery today. But if it shows available the other day was Sunday. Somebody booked it Sunday at 9 p.m. My wife's like, "Are you crazy?" I go, "Yeah, I'm crazy for success. I need everybody to pass the damn audition." So I'm available. If it shows you available, don't call and text me. Hey man, show available on Saturday night. Take it.
Yeah. Okay. Right? And then I sent a picture too, so I'll send another one if you didn't.
No. Look, if yours is here that it doesn't have it, I'll update it because you're right. I do have it. Wasn't it part of this one right here? I thought I did see it. Okay, I'll take care of it. Don't need to send it. I do have it. Okay.
All right.
Perfect. Anybody else from here? Questions, comments, concerns, anything about this part so far? All right. If not, you got my number. You got my link. Like I said, the badges are going out. We just got the brand new lanyards from National Life Group. They are in. So we were waiting for them because we need to attach them, of course. And we only give out, and we're the only team, by the way, in all of National Life Group that gets National Life Group lanyards from National Life Group. And so they are in. And so we're going to be passing these out to people once you pass your auditions as well, because you're going to start being observers, if at least in the beginning, if you never went to an event before, and we want to make sure everybody has them. Any questions? All right, if no one has any questions, I want to get into the ABRs and the living benefits. Now, this is very important because, like I said, as a life insurance agent, I the way I see it, what's that? Oh, the way I see it, nobody should be allowed to go out there and sell life insurance until there's some kind of pop quiz or some test, because everybody talks about life insurance. And only one person, by the way, only one person caught something during all of the auditions we've done, and we've done about 1.5 million, it feels like. And I'll show you what that person caught, and we'll discuss that as well. Well, first of all, what are the ABRs? What are the primary ABRs that we offer here? Who can tell me? And please listen to me. One answer per person, then the next person. This is interactive. If I didn't want to be interactive, I would have recorded it and emailed it to you. So please, we need you to play along. What are the primary ABRs? Give me one. Who's the first person?
This is
Terminal
terminal.
illness. Stanley.
No person. Go ahead.
Terminal illness.
Okay, whoever said terminal illness, that's one of them. And just so you know, technically, we always go by what are called the three primary ones. Three. They're three, and they're in a certain order. Doesn't matter what order you bring them. So let's just say number one, terminal illness. Okay, who can tell me the next? Somebody else. Who can tell me
Chronic illness.
Okay, chronic illness. That's right. Who can tell me another one?
Critical.
Critical illness. Okay, perfect. And anything else you guys want to throw in? Those are the three main ones, by the way. Whenever you hear ABRs industry wide, those are the three right there. Critical, chronic, and
Is
are by far top three. Anything else? That
also critical injury.
Okay, critical injury. That's very, very true. Anything else? All right.
Accident.
No, not accident.
What
But,
about the match?
what is it?
The match.
There's what, just so you know, there's about 22 riders that come with this thing total. By the time you talk overload protection, Now, here's what we're going to do. Let me start with Monica. Monica, when these ABRs are given to a client, how much do they pay? What's the cost for them?
Zero at no additional cost.
Okay, now there's a difference there. Zero or no additional cost. Which one are you going to go with?
No additional cost.
That's the right one. Yeah, don't say that. People love saying they're free. There's no cost. There's a cost. It's a built-in. And so therefore, you will always hear me talk about, I always call it nitpicking. We want to say the right way. And these, by the way, come at no additional cost. They're just a byproduct, if you would, of having this retirement plan that's going to give you a steady stream of lifetime income, and blah, blah, blah. So we want to make sure we do that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this. I'm going to give you guys a link. I'm going to send it via the chat. It's going to send you all this material. I've got about 7 different materials from National Life Group. And one thing you have to understand, that the living benefits from National Life Group are not new. The concept is not new. This is actually an ad, an ad from the Saturday Evening Post from 1937, which is it's incredible. And so anyway, just know that this is something that's established that you can feel good about. However, the number one reason agents run into problems with living benefits when it comes to a claim, what do you think is the number one problem we have in all of the industry, but here in National Life Group and FFS as well? There's one common denominator when it comes to somebody putting in a claim.
Not doing a good enough underwriting.
Well, no, okay, well, that could be it, but that's National Life Group's problem. This problem, the number one problem is what is in the field. Somebody else, what do you think it is? Come on.
Is it explaining the benefits?
Or better yet, properly explaining the benefits. I'll give you an example. Let's start with terminal illness, ABR number 1. Now, first of all, ABR, somebody that hasn't answered, and here, I'll just start calling you. What the hell? So we don't want to play games tonight. And so let's just say, we'll start with ABR number 1, terminal illness. Who can tell me how soon after the policy is issued? And that's another thing, that little thing people made mistakes. They kept saying, even if you only pay one premium, your family will receive $500,000. That's not true. Even if you've paid one premium and the policy has been issued, that's very important. And a policy will never get issued until we draft the money. It's called consideration. The insurance company has to have consideration. Like 14 years ago, when we used to take paper applications, I'll never forget this one teacher that we sold an IUL to, and we needed a voided check and her first month premium. Once we got that, she was basically covered because we took consideration from her. And she says, you know what? I'm not going to be able to give you that for about a week and a half because I'm off to Hawaii tomorrow. And we're like, well, you might want to just take care of this. We'll come to your home and pick up the voided check. No. I'll just get it done when I come back, because it was for her husband. She already had one, but it was for her husband. And so we had been to her home, and she still said, no, I'll just do it when I come back. She calls us from Hawaii saying, you know what? My husband went down and I don't know why, but he decided to go to the gym and take one of those cardio classes. And he dropped dead on the spot, the resort in Hawaii. And all she said was, well, thank God we got that policy for him. And we told her, no, you didn't, because of the simple fact that you never gave us the money and the policy was never issued. We have another one where the same exact thing happened. And the way it happened with her, we did have the money. The check was cashed, but the policy wasn't issued. That's in the days when we used to take 2-3 weeks or sometimes even 4 to get the policy issued. And so she thought she was getting $250,000 because her husband died. And all we gave her was her $200 back, which is horrible. Okay. But that's just the way it goes. And so you better be careful, because you don't want to end up in a lawsuit where they won't go after you. You'll be part of the lawsuit. But what will happen is that your E&O will take a hit. You don't really want to do that. I've never knock on wood, I've never had to go through that. And my team has never gone through that, but it's a very litigious society. So anyways, so once the policy is issued, and let's just say somebody comes down with a terminal illness, we'll make it simple. In a week from once it was issued, so we got their money, we issued the policy. A week later, they come down with a terminal illness. Are they covered under ABR 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I hear yes. I hear a lot of hesitation.
Yes.
How soon after a policy is issued does ABR 1 become reality?
Right away.
I think there's a waiting period, but I'm not sure exactly how much it
Okay,
is.
but that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
that I don't.
Okay. And so
Usually for cancer.
As
okay,
long
so-
as they meet the definition of a terminal illness, that they will pass away within 24 months, and the policy document has been issued and I paid the first premium, I believe they're covered.
Okay, so right now we're going to cover one thing. How soon after a policy is issued is the rider live? That's all.
Be 30 days.
30 days.
Immediate.
I know,
Immediately.
and in some of the policies that we do in health, I don't know if this one, I have not studied this one exactly, but I
Okay,
should.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is something everybody needs to be aware of, and they
Yeah.
need to make sure. The best
I
reading
don't think
material
there's
you're
a
going to
waiting period.
receive, the best reading material you're going to receive, let me show it to you right here, starts right here, and I'm going to give it to you. It's this one right here, where it talks about the living benefits. This is where it starts, and then it breaks it down in there. Now, let's go to another question. So the answer to that, by the way, is immediately.
Correct.
Okay, so as soon as we issue it and we have consideration that we took the money, it's live as it relates to ABR number 1, which is the terminal illness. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's just say I'm 40 years old. I took out $500,000 IUL. That's important. And I did get the ABR assigned to it, because here's one thing you have to understand. You don't ever tell somebody what they're going to get. You're always going to tell them what we're hoping that they get. And let me show you what I mean. Like Monica said, there's no additional fee. There's no additional cost for the riders. And the reason that's important for the insurance company, because that gives them the ability to not issue any riders. There are people that only get ABR 1 and 2, or they get only 2. They don't get The chronic is the one that they withhold. So if somebody's diabetic and they had cancer 20 years ago, they're going to say, you know what? I don't know, man. This is a payout waiting to happen. We'll give you terminal. We'll give you, let's just say critical, but we're not going to give you chronic. And so you don't want to overpromise. You always want to say, look, there's no additional fee, but I'm hoping and keeping my fingers crossed that they give you all three, because they could technically give you none. There's no additional cost for this, so they can do it. And so you don't want to overpromise and then under deliver. So if somebody comes down with terminal illness, how soon or when are they expected to pass it? Within what period of time?
Within 2 years.
24 months.
24 months. And that's important because, as you'll see in the industry standard is what? The industry
1
standard
year.
is 12 months.
12 months.
12 months, yeah.
It's 12 months. And so you can feel good that you're giving somebody that, because now what's the big deal? Somebody might say, well, hell, if I'm terminal, who the hell cares? You should care, because if you've got 24 months or less to live, that's pretty generous. I mean, we had one teacher out of Florida where she came down with the rare form of cancer, and she was a single mom. I'll never forget that, single mom. And what ended up happening with her, she ended up, once she was diagnosed as terminal, she was having such a hard time between getting to treatment, this and that. And then when they found out what kind of cancer it was, they told her they couldn't treat her because what she needed was considered experimental, and her health insurance didn't cover it. And so she basically gave up at that point. But then we reminded her of the ABR. We were able to advance her about $224,000. She quit her job as a teacher to focus just on her child and her health. She paid for the experimental treatment cash, and she saved her life. She beat that rare cancer. And
Sure.
That's an example. Now, let me ask you a question. She beat the cancer. Can she get another IUL?
It takes 7 years in most cases to go back into the coverage, and you have to show that you haven't.
Anybody else? Can she ever have another? Anybody else?
Okay, Javier, this is true. I'm going to give my own example. I had cancer. I was treated. I was able to actually get a policy with National Life 2 years later, but there's an additional premium that I had to pay.
Yes. And so the answer will always,
Just got to be underwritten.
I'm sorry?
Just needs to be underwritten.
Hell yeah, it's going to be underwritten. Believe me. But here's the key thing. Whenever somebody asks me that question, my answer is always the same. I can't tell you that because there's too many variables involved. But what I recommend is that we take an application, or at least let me get some of your basic information. How long ago? What was the treatment? What was the outcome? Did you go to full remission and so on? And then you call, because depending on the type of cancer that it was, will determine that. Some will require 7 years. Some will require 10 years. The most we have is 10 years. If anybody's been cancer-free for 10 or more years, they treat the person like they never had it. Oh, you know what I'm saying. They will definitely qualify if they've been cancer-free for 10 years, but you got to be very careful of that. Okay, so great. Now, here's the question. So I have $500,000 IUL. I come down with cancer. I'm 24 months or less to live. I apply for my living benefits. You're my agent, and I come to you and I say, when can I expect my $500,000? What would you tell them? Does that make sense what I asked you? I want to make sure you understand that.
Yeah. Well, everything has to be submitted.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it's just a matter of timing. We're kind of at the discretion of the company itself. I mean, that's what I would say. So I couldn't.
I would say that the minute it's underwritten, you've provided all the documentation is underwritten, payment will be almost immediate once the company makes the decision.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Somebody different. Okay, let me cut to the chase as it relates to this scenario. So my face amount that you sold me, and part of what I loved was how you told me how this whole terminal critical chronic illness stuff, my face amount is how much?
$500,000.
$500,000. And I'm telling you, Stan, I really need the money. Okay, then you tell me we need to fill all this paperwork. Great. I get approved. I get my FedEx envelope. I open up my package, right? And there's a check for $200,000. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call you. And trust me when I tell you, you will get that phone call. And let's just say, let me go back to who we have here. Let's start with Fernando. Fernando, I don't know if this is my first installment, but you sold me a $500,000 policy, but I just got a check for 200 grand, Fernando. When can I expect the rest?
I don't know the answer. to that.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Sorry.
Joy, I don't know. Just tell me, I just got 200 grand. You sold it to me for $500,000. When can I expect the rest?
When you
Joy?
die.
When I die? Okay, when I die, and then I die. Okay, when I die. Let's just somebody hasn't answered up yet. Please.
When you die,
When you
the
who is
balance,
that?
the balance
Walt?
is when you die. This is Walt.
Okay, well, so when I die, well, I won't get it. So you're saying when I die, my family gets 200 or 300,000, or
Well, the difference of whatever is from what's been paid.
but Walt, you told me when you sold it to me. Tell me what you told me. What did you tell me?
Up to
Up to what?
whatever the amount is that, and relative to the amount of the policy, given this severity of the medical challenge that you're
All right.
having, which is a living benefit.
Okay. Now the answer to that scenario, we'll come back at the end, is that in that any other answers before I go into clarifying it?
Yes,
But
just
you
want
guys
to
understand the
clarify.
question? Did you guys understand the scenario?
National Life, does it have an 80%? Because some companies have an 80% maximum, others have 100. So is National Life, when they pay the terminal illness and a lump sum, do they pay the full 100% or 80% of the face?
We'll come back to it right now. And remember, we eventually, this is why we're doing this. We want to give one answer, and it's got to be the right answer every single time together, right? And so the answer is, if anybody said that more's coming when I die, there's probably going to be a lawsuit because there's nothing else coming. You sold me a $500,000 life insurance policy, telling me that I could accelerate it, and I needed it, and you gave me a check for a miserable 200,000. Nothing's coming. It's a done deal, and we'll come back to that in just 1 second. So I don't want to leave you in suspense. And so here's a quick reference that you're going to be able to study. Some applies to all states. New York and California are the only weirdo states, but it all works the same. So when it comes to the terminal illness, as you can see here, well, I don't want to ruin it for you. We'll come back in just 1 second. So let's talk about chronic. Who can tell me an overview of the chronic rider? Who wants to go? Guys, this is everybody. Come on.
Well, the chronic illness rider
If you don't
is.
know the answer, just tell me, because I don't want people to hear the wrong
Well,
answer.
I mean, it's right off of the script. It that's to do with the daily activities of living, right? So if you can't do two of the basic activities, like feeding yourself, dressing yourself, going to the bathroom, then that's considered a chronic illness, right?
I'm asking you.
Yes.
Okay, so I have $500,000 IUL. That's what we said earlier. So what are you telling me I'm going to be getting every month?
2% of the for up to 50 months.
Give me a number. What am I getting every month?
Sorry. We'll do some math here.
10,000.
And it's up to 2%.
Okay, up to 2%.
10,000 per month for 50 months.
10,000.
Okay, 10,000. Okay, we'll come back to that in just 1 second as well. Now, let me ask you a question. How soon after the policy is issued, and I'm assuming all the technical stuff got done, you paid, I paid, they took my money, I got the policy issued, I have it in hand, so no technical, I'm not trying to trip anybody. It's legit. And how soon after that happens does this great coverage that you speak of begin? Who wants to go first and tell me that?
Immediate.
Okay. Anybody
What's
else?
the policy?
I'm sorry?
Most companies take 90 days.
We're talking about
period.
NLG, and only NLG right now. That's not going to get it done. Most companies. We're talking about NLG, if that's what you're selling. Now, why don't we do this? Clearly, you never had a formal class, but most of you come from National Life Group and are talking about it. So that's why I assume that. So let me just make it faster so we don't spend too much time here. And this, let's back up. Let's just go back to terminal illness. Number one thing, as I said, immediate coverage begins right away. If I have a $500,000 life insurance policy and I die at 40, I get a check for 200,000. No, there's no 300,000, because what happens with all accelerated benefits, they're going to what's called discounted, and we'll get into that discounting just one second. So anybody who said that more money's coming, no, that was wrong, and that could set you up for a bunch of headaches. You don't want to do that. Chronic illness. When it comes to the chronic illness, one of the reasons I love National Life Group is that because it used to be 90 days. So the policy had to be enforced for 90 days, and then we will go ahead and accelerate whatever amount you want. It's only 30 days for the last couple of years, for the last 5-6 years. So the policy is enforced for 30 days. Your chronic illness rider is going to kick in. And so let me go ahead and share this with you right now. And the reason that that's so important, because the one thing that gets so many agents in trouble is they don't account for the discounting. So here's the way discounting works with all companies. Now, the insurance companies with permanent life policies are assuming you're dying at an age of around 80 something. And so at 80 something is when your policy is worth $500,000. So if you die at 40, well, there's a formula, which I'm going to show you how they're going to calculate that. That's going to equate to right now, your $500,000 policy is only really worth 200,000. And that's all you're going to get. Now, let me just make sure you can see this, as I want to, because this applies that I want to move a little faster. Let me back up over here. And so as you can see here, we're talking about very important. You have to be unable to perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living: bathing, continence, dressing, eating, toileting, transferring as well. However, you have to keep in mind a couple of things when it comes to the chronic to keep yourself out of trouble. So let's just say, and I'll just give you the answer because I don't want to complicate things. We got too many answers here. Is that not only the reason it's called chronic is because it's going to the condition is going to last for at least 90 days. So, like, perfect example, my wife had surgery today, and she meets 6 of the 6 damn things right here. And so if I go put in a claim for her IUL, say, hey, payday, because she cannot perform 4 of the 6 activities of daily living, they're going to ask me, how long has she been in that condition? I'm going to tell them 1 day, not long enough. I come back a week, a month, 2 months, not long enough. This does not kick in until the 91st day.
90 days.
Does that make sense? 90 days
Yeah.
is called an elimination period. And it's a very generous one, because this one, the coverage starts right away 30 days after we issued it. But whatever happens, it has to affect that person and be unable to perform that for a period of at least 90. And here's the kicker: 90 consecutive days. Now, my wife has $500,000. You go ahead.
Just one question. Is that 90 consecutive days after policy issue? So if they were already in that condition, that part doesn't count?
Doesn't count at all.
Okay.
And so the way they protect themselves, they're saying, first of all, the policy has to be in place for 90 days, for 30 days after we issued it. And the reason they say that is because if you already had a pre-existing condition, it's not going to cover it. It's just not going to cover it. And then they're going to say you failed to tell us that during the underwriting process. So we're going to cancel. And that's when they give you your premium only. Here's your $200 back. Thank you. Get out of here. And that's going to be an issue. So you sold my wife an IUL for $500,000. I call you in 91 days. She's had it for 5 years. So we got the 30 days out of the way. She's in day 110. And I call you up and say, hey, Mr. Agent from the school, right? This is my wife, the teacher. You sold her one of those IULs. She's got $500,000 IUL that you sold her. She cannot perform 4 of the 6 activities of daily living. Here's the paperwork. Here's the doctor. We're legit. How much am I going to be? When do I start getting my $10,000 that you just told me I'm going to get? How soon can I get the $10,000? And the answer is what?
Immediate.
You're not getting 10,000. It has to be discounted. And I'll show you how that works in just 1 second. So be very careful about how you present that. Now, I get it that that's what the script says in regards to that, because it is true, as you can see it all over the place. But in practicality, you got to always, in my opinion, throw one word in there, and that is based on the discounting, which is true. And I'll show you that. I don't want to confuse you too much. We'll come back to that in just 1 second. So 90 days, it has to go through. The policy has to be in place for 30 days. But anytime that you accelerate something, well, if you're accelerating it, you're only going to get paid what it's worth today, not when you die. Here's the one thing that nobody mentioned, which I think is very important. One of the biggest rising issues people are having are cognitive issues, such as Alzheimer's. And so I don't know if you knew this, but the IUL that we offer here with the National Life Group covers Alzheimer's as well. And this is very important because I don't know why. Nobody knows why the hell. Maybe somebody does. They're not telling us. It's very common. It's too common, to be honest with you. And it's only growing by leaps and bounds. So there is an accelerated benefit rider in case they do come down with Alzheimer's disease as well, which you could read as well. But here's the big one. And this is critical. Critical that we're talking about Lou Gehrig's disease, we're talking about blindness, we're talking about cancer, a heart attack, stroke, valve replacement. I mean, there's a lot of things that got added to this, but this is the only place that people ever have any sense of what a discount is. Because somebody said it earlier, it's going to be based on the severity and how old or how young you are. So if I have a $500,000 life insurance policy and I get a heart attack, well, a heart attack can be anything from, people just recover from it. And they're, LeBron James's kid had one the other day, and there was another player who had one last year and they recovered. So in that example, there's nothing to accelerate because they had no effect on them, basically. But then they have a scale of how severe. The more severe, the more your percentage. But no matter what percentage, even if they qualify for a 100% advance, the question is 100% of what? Well, you qualify for 100%. Most people assume 100% of $500,000. No, it's 100% of whatever the policy is worth based on the age of the person. How close are they to natural death? Well, a 20-year-old probably not going to get a whole lot combined. And actually, that's a good thing, because if they do that, they can actually, there are ways for them to keep their policy. Because if you come to somebody and say, you're 30 years old and you had a heart attack, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear that. The $500,000 policy that you have would have been paid out if you died, but thankfully you didn't die. And it's a pretty serious heart attack. So therefore you qualify for a 100% acceleration. Okay, what the hell does that mean? I get $500,000? Well, not necessarily. No, you don't, because you're 40 years old. You're supposed to die at 80. So you're about a 50%. So instead of $500,000, you get $250,000, which is good. I mean, who the hell wouldn't want $250,000 to see them through their heart attack challenges? But here's the kicker. At that point, the policy is closed completely. Completely. Now, this policy, or this rider, also requires 30 days. So as long as the policy is in place for 30 days, this one here kicks in. Now, the only problem you will see from time to time is that they will, in 100% certainty, go ahead and contest any claims you make within the first 2 years, especially if it's within the first 1 year. You have to be very aware of that. So what does that mean? That means that we never replace policies that have come out of their contestability period. We never want to do that, because if you do that, I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine, police officer, motorcycle officer. I sold him an IUL 14 years ago, and I lost track with the guy. My fault. I take full responsibility for that. He's a friend, so I see him here and there, but I didn't do annual reviews. Along comes another National Life Group agent and says, you know what? There's a much better IUL than the one you have now. It has higher caps. It has this, and it had a little bit more living benefits, but that's a rule you never want to break. So that agent told him, cancel the old one, get the new one. He got the new one. He retired. And literally 2 months after he retired, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, in his mind, living benefits. He puts in his claim for the living benefits, and they denied him. So he had given up the old IUL with me, which they couldn't deny it, because they wouldn't contest it. It was out of the contestability period. And he ended up getting like $600 back. And had to see the whole thing without a penny of the living benefits because that other agent broke a cardinal rule and he canceled the policy that was out of the contestability period and stuck him into another brand new one, which is the worst thing possible. I told him there's no way. He goes, that agent lied, and he went to like 3-4 different law firms that specialize. And I gave him one. There's one that I would be afraid of, and I gave him the phone number, but I told him I don't think they're going to help you. And sure enough, every single one of them said, "No case, can't help you," and he got screwed, which I felt horrible. But again, somebody did something they were not supposed to do. But here's something that's also very unique to National Life Group, and that is the critical injury. Critical injury is almost exclusive to a few companies, being one of them, National Life Group. And so what this means is that, once again, this is received in a lump sum. So if somebody says they have $500,000 policy and they go into a coma, paralysis, severe burns, TBI, or traumatic brain injury, and they have $500,000, and they're 40 or 50 years old, we're going to tell them, look, you qualify for up to $300,000. But if you take the full $300,000, the policy's dead, it's done. And 99% of the people that I've ever given that choice to, they take it. They take it. And so this is another rider that you should be proud of, if you would, knowing that you're giving, but as long as you don't overpromise when you're selling it. Underwriting is very important because of the simple fact that it's the risk that the insurance company is going to have to take. So don't overpromise and then underdeliver when they take 1, 2, or all 3 or 4 of the riders because of whatever reason that might be. Now, this is a very important part. 2 things on how to submit a claim, which is simple. They do it online. But on the right-hand side, it talks about discounting, how the benefit payments are calculated. Read this, review it. You can see clearly here that this example, if they have for every $100,000 to be received, if they received it today, it would be worth 45. If they received it in 10 years, it would be 67. And if they were receiving it in 20 years, then it would be the full 100,000 based on how old they are, because of what I explained to you, the way the insurance companies see this thing working. Take a look at it. Sound informed, be educated, enlighten your clients. They're going to respect that, because I have never handed a check to somebody, because whenever something has come down, we just paid a big one in Apple Valley area. And what the pastor asked, how much do you think I'm going to be getting on this one? Now, this guy is older. He's a pastor and he's in his 70s. And so we told him it's going to be close to your actual face amount because of his age. He had 3 bad strokes at that. He's unfortunately, in a bad spot, bad position, but he ended up getting almost his entire thing because of his age. If the guy would have been 20, 30, 40, 50, then I would have told him, you're probably going to get around half, but we'll get the exact amount once the actual underwriter gets the information that they need to determine the severity of your particular illness, accident, or whatever the case might be. And so again, look at this right here, full acceleration. What happens to my policy? If a full lump, if a full lump sum benefit is elected, the death benefit will be fully accelerated. The discounted death benefit will be paid to the policy owner, and the policy will terminate. Common sense. They accelerated everything. It's like somebody, they qualify for 2% for up to 50 years. Well, 50 months. Well, 50 months, you're accelerated 100%. There's nothing to accelerate for you anymore. It's the exact same thing. However, they can, and there are times where it does make sense, they can do a partial acceleration. And one of the scenarios of making a partial acceleration would be where it's, let's just say, a critical illness, but the person is so screwed up that, you know what, this might turn terminal. And then if it turns terminal, they're going to need more money. Or in many cases, they want to do just a partial acceleration. So I'm telling you, from your $500,000, you qualify for up to 300,000. Well, maybe we want to do just 150,000, and then the rest will be paid when you pass away, so that there's something to take care of your final expenses on your way out as well. And here's a breakdown on the right-hand side, if you would, of how that works as well. Now, we really only work primarily with FlexLife. And so it's available everywhere with the exception of New York. New York is weird. Thankfully, I have nothing to do with New York, so I don't care. But also what I want to share with you is this right here, so that you understand how competitive, National Life and you are, because of the way they structured their living benefits. Look at this right here. It has National Life, Lincoln, Penn Mutual, Pacific Life, New York Life, Mass Mutual, Allianz, Anaco, North American, AIG, and Transamerica. And you look at the differences between all these things right here, and it's pretty tremendous, pretty tremendous. And even when it comes to extra costs, some charge, like I told you, some do not for certain. Some don't even offer it. If you look at critical illness, right there, critical illness, number of triggers, 13 for National Life Group. That's incredible. Not available, not available, not available, not available, not available, and so on. Again, if you look at that one, the only one that has more triggers, which is pretty cool, 16 of them, is Anaco, American National Insurance Company, which is the second company I think everybody here should get appointed with, because Mr. Michael Harding, who's a dear friend that's known him for over 20 years, he's going to be coming on our webinar, if not next week, the week after. And you want to be appointed, because FFS will let you get appointed with up to 3 carriers, and we pay the fees. After 3, you have to pay whatever, $10. You don't need more than 3. You just need 2, Anaco and National Life Group as well. But if you look down there at the number of triggers, let's just say for the Alzheimer's, we're the only ones. National Life Group is the only company that even offers it. Critical injury, only company, which is simply incredible. So just know that you are bringing a ton of value to clients, but you just want to make sure that, again, you do your part as well. What I'm going to do at this point, we're coming up on the hour, and I don't want to make it that much longer. I'm going to go ahead and show you or give you. So let me just bring this down. And if you go into the chat, and if you're watching this recording, then what you want to do, let me pull this up. You want to make sure that you go ahead, and go to the description section of the video, and just go ahead and download it there. And it's titled, let me pull it up, NLG ABRs 2023. It's a folder. It's a folder. So if somebody here can do me a huge favor, all right, if you can do me a huge favor, just tell me if you see it in the chat, and if it opens up a Dropbox folder that has all the stuff that I just read to you and even more. It's a Dropbox folder. So if you
I see it.
okay,
Yeah.
can you click on it? Did it open up the files? PDFs?
Oh, I'm clicking on it right now, and it's opening on the other screen. Give me a second.
No worries. And in the
Yeah,
meantime,
it looks like there's a whole bunch of
that's it. That's it. Everything that I showed you is there,
okay.
plus more. And one last piece of thing that I was showing everybody. I know some of you got here late. Again, I'm gonna end it with this chart. It shows you simple stuff like I need your photo if you intend to get an ID, and also to use it on our board. The level change have all been done. Also, the commission qualified, most of you are not. Audition number 1, audition number 2. If you're missing, if you pass audition number 1 with George or myself, or 2 or both, let me know, because as of right now, everybody that's red right now is going to have to get on the ball, because we're this close to having to say, we'll see you in the spring. Because we really do want to focus on getting more business to less people that are really fully prepared and informed. It's amazing how when I ask pop questions such as, how soon after you issue a policy does the critical illness rider kick in? We want to make sure that we give the right answer, because there's a lot writing on that. If you're going to be here long enough, you will, just out of curiosity, how many people here have paid a death benefit? Anybody?
I have.
Okay. It happens. I mean, I started a lot of college funds for kids, or what we call the $1 Million Baby. I'm actually going to do a class for you next week, 2 weeks from now, because my granddaughter, I wait for them to turn 1. How old does a child have to be to qualify for an IUL with National Life Group? Anybody know?
3 weeks old.
14 days technically. So she passed it, but I funded it on an annual basis for all of my grandkids, and I'm going to show you how I do it. And I'll never forget, we started one for this baby, and she was 12 and she died, and I was so freaked out. I did not know. And so we paid so much, and I mean, this is over 20 something years. It's the real deal is what I'm saying. Any questions about anything as I wrap it up from anybody? Anything?
I know this is a dumb question, but for
ahead.
the August 26th
Yes.
symposium that we're having on August 26th, do we bring our own lunch? Are we going to have an hour lunch break?
I would recommend bringing your lunch, because they gave us 2 options: either break for lunch and run it till like 4 or 5, or just run it through and get out of there, I think, at 2. And so I just told them, we'll just tell people to bring some snacks or something like that. We'll literally be going to be right next door to the restaurant. So you can grab a lunch there and just bring it inside. Because we're trying to get everybody out of there as quickly as possible. Great question, though. I don't want to be hungry. Anybody else? All right.
Fernando, sorry, I have a quick question. So when are the actual teacher, as in, at schools, when are the school presentations starting?
LAUSD goes back August 14th, and we are trying to get on as quickly as possible on their staff meetings already. So, I think on the next week is when the principals and the teachers, first of all, the principal and the office staff are going to start going back to school next week, but no meetings. Then they bring the teachers the week after that, but it's still pupil free. And then the staff meetings begin when the actual kids come back as well. So
thank you.
We're ready to go. And like I said, we're ready to go. But as you can see by that chart, we don't have as many people as I was hoping we would have ready, even though we've been doing this damn thing every single week and sometimes twice a week. And people are still saying, I didn't know we had training. I didn't know this. And so anyways, more for us, I guess. But all right, guys. I just really want to remind you also, we're going to be moving this webinar on the first week of August to a Monday. I think it's the 7th. I don't know what it is, something like that. So just remember that we're going to merge the two teams and we're going to just come together on Mondays and continue these trainings, talk about the upcoming assignments, talk about what happened to that the week before. And before I forget, I want to congratulate Monica Gonzalez for another application to hit the system. She's had, how many paychecks now, Monica? I'm just curious. How many paydays have you've been paid?
I have two. I got 2 more coming in.
2 more paydays, and you had 2 already. That's gonna be 4. And is it safe to say that you've been paid in the thousands already?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. That's what it's about, guys. That's what it's results. It's getting the cash. But I will tell you this: you got to know your stuff. She knows her stuff, and I think there's a lot more she can improve upon, of course.
Well done.
But there's too much writing on the line here. Somebody called me and said that. Kathy, somebody called me and who was it? Oh, George called me and said, hey, whoever helped out this teacher, Nancy Ramirez, man, they were very impressed. So I thought it was Monica. So I was bragging about Monica's really good. And, then it turns out I talked to Monica and it wasn't her. It turns out it was somebody that got another appointment. It was Kathy DeRugar. And so she did such a good job with this teacher that she went out of her way to get her a few more clients at the school. And so here we are in the middle of summer. I think she's at number 6 applications for the month, personal application for Kathy. And she's winning as far as the contest for the the iPad. And just fun stuff to do that. So, all right, remind me, if the chart has you in the wrong color, you got to let me know, because those that are in red, real soon, we're going to have that separation and we're going to say, look, I tried, but I'll see you in the spring, and let's focus on who's here as well. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Javier.
Cool. Thank you.